Hey everyone, it's Lurdsy. Today I'm going to show you how to make Kamura's inheritance. You can find the template down below in the description. It's scaled to size, so it's about 6 foot in total length. After cutting out your template, we're going to trace it onto foam. Most of this is going to be in 10mm foam. Make sure your knife is sharp when you're cutting, otherwise it'll tear and you can ruin your foam. Once the pieces are cut out, we can glue the ends to make the full-size blades. Using contact cement, you'll need to let it dry for about 5 to 10 minutes so it's tacky. Here we're cutting out the guard. Again, out of 10mm foam. Use 2 layers of this. And we're going to cut out the center of that guard template. And that's where the rod for the blade's going to go through. Gluing both sides and setting those aside. Now I'm cutting out the handle. I'm going to use PVC pipe for mine, but we're going to do the pommel first. I'm going to cut out 3 layers of this, adding a little bit of a tail to it so that it goes into the PVC pipe. Once all 3 are out, you can then cut the center bit out of all 3 so that you can put the tassel on at the end. Those also get glued and set aside. Next, I took a steel rod and measured the length of where I wanted it to be put in. I also curved the tips so that it fits all the way to the top. Marking where it goes so that we can cut it out a groove with our knife. Using the knife to cut a V shape in the blade on the inside. Make sure not to cut all the way through so that we don't see the steel rod on the inside. Once that groove is out, we can glue that in with the steel rod and then both halves. Here we're putting the guard back together, or completely together. Same with the pommel. Everything's tacky, so it'll fit very nicely. After gluing the steel rod in, we can then glue the half of the sword on the inside and then attach both sides. Now we're going to cut the trim out of some 2mm foam for the guard. And we're also going to cut out the 4 little spiral bits that have a detail on it. And mark where the trim and the detail is going to go. I only did detail for the one side. The other side is just blank with blank spirals. Also, that 2mm foam is to thicken the sides at the bottom of the sword. I also use my Dremel tool to smooth over the edges. Gluing the outside of the guard for the trim. I used a wood burning tool to do all the details. Using the wood burning tool, I did the details for the spirals on the guard. And using my Dremel tool, I rounded the edges to smooth everything over. I added some context cement on both the details and on the guard where the details are going to go. I found some PVC pipe that's going to be used for the handle. I cut out the two pieces of the handle because the long sword in Monster Hunter extends when you pull it out, and I wanted to keep that there. So I took some other PVC pipe that was big enough and made the oval sides and an extender in the middle so that I could pop the extender out and then, collapse it. Using my Dremel tool, I sanded the blade and made a fine edge on the sword. And then I rounded the edges on the pommel as well. Using hot glue, I put the pommel into the bottom part of the handle. I also made a sandwich core of foam to hold the steel rod that the blade has in it. The tang. Also, here we're cutting out the scabbard. Same 10mm foam. And then you also cut out the caps and the other cap. When I was gluing these, I put only a 5mm of glue so that there's a little lip. That'll come in handy when we sand everything. Test fitting the blade inside and putting the end cap on. That also has the 5mm on it. The top part, finish that, glued the spacers in, and then finish it off with a Dremel to round everything out. Using the same template, I cut it in half to make marks for the sections on the scabbard. I then took my Dremel tool and Dremeled out all of the grooves for the sections on the scabbard. Now, since everything was glued together and ready to be painted, I put a coat of plastic dip. I believe it was 2 coats of plastic dip. After the plastic tip, I used a gloss red on the guard as a base coat underneath the gold. Applying the gold. I used a hammered, I believe graphite it was? Or hammered bronze for all the metal parts. I believe 2 coats of this as well. I used a basic tan for the handles. This is what's underneath the red cloth wrap. For the scabbard, I did a base coat of yellow. It was a sunset yellow, I believe. I did like 3 coats of this. It was really hard to get that bright yellow. For the sword, I did a gloss black for the base. When that was dry, I masked off the edge part to then use a regular silver on the full blade. This ends up changing later because I didn't like the silver part. It needed to be darker. I then masked off the backside and then used a chrome on the edge. After the scabbard's yellow was dry, I came out with an orange and lightly dusted the parts of the scabbard that had that burnt orange to it. Here I'm unmasking the blade. See the difference between the 2 silvers. And this is where I saw that I didn't like the silver. So I pulled out some graphite silver and a pearlescent silver and mixed together to make this darker color. After that, I then did detail work with a pearlescent silver and did all the bamboo and then the tiger. Once that was done, I let that dry and then repeated the pattern on the other side of the blade. I got some cloth from the fabric store and wrapped the scabbard in the center and at the top, just like in the game. The handle, I just took the same cloth, cut out some diamonds, and then glued that to the handle. I also made a separate spacer for the handle. Next, I handmade the tassel that attached to some red cord that I found. And now, with all the pieces, We line it up with the spiral at the front and then glue everything together. I just used hot glue for this just in case I needed to take things apart. And now we finish with Kamura's inheritance. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.